Alright, so this video gonna I guess, give you some top tips for optimizing your chances of success with your diet and also speak about the psychological elements as well, just kind of briefly because I geek out over all this sort of stuff, so could go on forever. If you want to know more and do want to listen to me geek out, as it were, just drop a line and I can kind of go into more depth about some of this because the psychology of it all is really fascinating. Again, it's just that important. The key thing is just to know yourself. Self-reflection, a really important thing. It's a really tricky thing as well. Like, we can sometimes not be able to kind of analyze ourselves quite as well. So that's why sometimes it's important to get support from others, coaches or professionals or just friends and family to kind of give you a little bit of help. But you are the person that have lived with yourself the longest. So again, you probably can identify certain things and your behaviours and actions. So it's just bringing that awareness, attention to that, and bringing awareness to it so that you can kind of create strategies to kind of best support you to optimize your success. So as I say, self-awareness is key. So knowing, are you an all or nothing type person? What kind of things trigger your emotions? What behavior patterns do you notice? What habits do you follow? I think in that regard, habits it can be brilliant. They can also be really tricky because once you establish a habit, it is quite tricky to then change that habit. First step's probably identifying the habit. So like, I know myself that in the evenings, if I wanted to change my food habits a little bit, I probably would be looking at my evenings where I just sit in front of Netflix and just start eating just for the sake of, this is a routine that I've created. Once I watch a Netflix, I must have something to eat. I'm not hungry, but I just feel that I should eat, and then it's built from there. So again, that's about identifying that habit. It might be that a certain time of day you come down, have a seat, and then have a cup of tea with 5 biscuits when Escape to the Country is on, or when you're watching Neighbours or something like that, that you've just created this little habit. As soon as you sit in that chair, you then have set amount of biscuits or a cake or whatever, and it's built over time without even thinking. It's a bit like driving. You don't have to really think about driving anymore. You've done it so often, it's become automatic, so that it uses less reserves of mental capacity, energy to do, because you don't have to think about it. It's become automatic. Because imagine if you had to think about all these things all the time. Like, imagine you had to do that for your heartbeat and stuff like that. Gosh, that'd be a nightmare, wouldn't it? But things are automatic to help with these processes. So it's a bit like habits. They're your body's way of smoothlining things so that it's less effortful to perform some of these behaviours. Doesn't mean these behaviours are always going to be good, or doesn't mean they're always going to be bad for us, but they are just these habits that we've formed. You maybe need to identify what your habits are, where they've come from, and what you can do to maybe alter them if they're not serving your goal and what you're wanting to achieve.